It's okay if you record the session, right, sir?
Sure. No problem.
Thank you, sir.
So good evening, sir. I'll just start by introducing you to what our series is. So Build First India is a series of talks organized by our team, FRC Team Elevate, to promote STEM and robotics across high school students. FRC Team Elevate is an international award-winning first robotics competition team started by Dhirubhai Ambani International School. Our team has received the highest Rookie All-Star Award at the World Championship at Detroit in 2019. FIRST stands for Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology, and is an organization which promotes STEM skills in youth. Today is our concluding talk of our series, which will be presided over by Mr. R. Ramanan. So now, Mr. Ramanan is the Mission Director of Atal Innovation Mission, Niti Aayog. The Atal Innovation Mission's goals are to establish and promote a vibrant culture of innovation and entrepreneurship nationwide. As the mission director of AIM, Mr. Ramanan has been instrumental to date in the launch and execution of several nationwide innovation and entrepreneurship initiatives, resulting in over 10,000 plus Atal Tinkering Labs being established in schools nationwide, and over 2 million students having access to innovative tools and technologies. Mr. Ramanan was also previously the managing director and CEO of CMC Limited, a subsidiary of the globally acclaimed Tata Consultancy Services. Mr. Ramanan led CMC's rapid transformation from a domestic government organization to a global IT private sector organization. We are really honored to have you, sir, and we look forward to have an interacting and interesting session with you.
Thank you, Manav. Looking forward to the same.
Yes, sir.
Should I go ahead?
Yes, sir, sure.
Okay, great. So good evening, everybody. And first of all, I'm delighted to participate in the FRC Elevate sessions that you have been organizing. I want to compliment every one of you, Manav, Meenal, Arna, and the rest of the team who have been dedicated on this mission of how do we ensure that we build an innovative India? How do we build the next generation of entrepreneurs? How do we instill in them a thirst for the acquisition of the latest technologies and knowledge upon which solutions are being created in the rest of the world? And I think that's a very, very important initiative that all of you have undertaken. As all of you are aware, my name is Ramanan. I'm the Mission Director of Atal Innovation Mission. And the purpose of the mission, as Manav had already mentioned, is how do we create an ecosystem that promotes innovation and that promotes entrepreneurship. And there are two different things. One is when you're talking of innovation, you're talking about an attitude, a mindset that needs to be present if you want to innovate. And the second is, if you become innovative and if you acquire that innovative mindset and you acquire a problem-solving mindset, then you should have an ecosystem which promotes entrepreneurship, which promotes startups, which enables startups to succeed. And that is what the Atal Innovation Mission has launched on. And that is what it has been doing for the last 3.5 years. First of all, I do hope that every one of you who is attending this call is safe and healthy and following all the practiced, all the safeguards that are advocated during these difficult COVID-19 times. I'm sure this particular crisis will come to a pass. But there is also a great opportunity or a set of opportunities that have arisen as a result of this crisis. And while we want the crisis to end at the earliest, we also should be aware of what this crisis has shown to the rest of the world, what a simple virus, how a simple virus can paralyze entire nations, can create lockdowns for extended period of time, as we are experiencing right now, and for supply chains to be disrupted. As a result, both lives and livelihoods have been getting lost. And that is something that we need to solve. And it can only be solved when all of us plunge into that act of being a little more innovative than what we are, a little more entrepreneurial than what we are, a little more problem-solving oriented than what we are. Because it is these characteristics that will help build our economy further, recover from the challenges that are facing us now, and build the new India of our dreams. And therefore, I congratulate you, FRC, as well as the Elevate organizations to have launched this particular initiative. Now, what is the Atal Innovation Mission trying to do? At the school level, we want the children to inculcate and acquire a problem-solving mindset. So all of you young students, you are going to be the future of the country. You're going to be the architects of everybody of what is going to happen in our country. And if you want to be the architects, you should know what are the problems that are to be addressed in our country. We are a country of 1.3 billion people. We have 1.4 million schools. We have 10,500 engineering and related institutions. We have more than 150 million young students who are going to be entering into the workplace over the next 4 to 5 years. And that is what everybody calls as a demographic dividend. We have more than 65% of our country under 35 years old. And that's the envy for many a country across the world. They don't have such a young population, because a young population, a youthful population, means an energetic population, a population full of ideas and imaginations that can get converted into innovations and can create the new reality that we all look for. And therefore, how do we harness this demographic dividend? That demographic dividend can only be harnessed by exposing them to what is the latest of knowledge that is there in the world. You see, all the solutions in the world are being changed because of technology and being reimagined. Technology is changing the way you are experiencing the world and the way the world is experiencing you. 3D printing is revolutionizing the way you can conceptualize, design, develop, manufacture, and create a product right in front of your eyes using a small 3D printer. You don't have to go to a big manufacturing plant in order to create a new product. You can do it in your own house, in the Kirana stores that are operating in our country. That is the power of 3D printing. It's going to change the way manufacturing is going to happen, what is called as additive manufacturing. Robotics is changing the way automation is going to happen and is happening across the rest of the world. So you have, through robotics and through a combination of Internet of Things, IoT technologies, the ability to be able to take action based on a whole lot of data that is feeding into the robot through multiple channels. It could be data channels, communication channels. It could be sensory technologies that are integrated into the man-machine device surrounding the robot. And all of this data can flow in through wireless technologies, through near-field communication technologies, and so on. So as a result, you are now able to have a robot mimic the human intelligence and do a whole lot of mundane things that we don't need to be wasting our time on. And we can focus on bigger, better things to create a better world. 5G technologies are going to enable plant-to-plant communication, not just a device to device, but a manufacturing plant to another plant. And 5G technologies is going to change the way you are going to be able to access data, process data. And now with supercomputing, nano computing, cognitive computing, you have the ability to process large amounts of data and immediately take action on it. You're able to detect patterns, new patterns in the data, and thereby that gives you new information. And that new information enables you to look at a problem completely differently, which otherwise you would not have been able to look at. Imagine when you're looking at a spreadsheet, it is impossible for your human brain to be able to process. If the spreadsheet is 256 rows and 256 columns, it becomes very difficult for you to be able to make sense out of the data. But a computer, when it is fed that particular data, can quickly detect patterns and suggest to you where you have to focus in order to solve a problem. Now that is the power of big data and analytics. That is the power of artificial intelligence. You see, artificial intelligence is not something new. We have been talking about it for a long time. But today, we have the ability to actually make artificial intelligence benefit humanity because of supercomputing, because of super communications, because of big data analytics, and because of the enablement of affordable, accessible, available technology at your fingertips. And that is why today we are launching thousands of what are known as Atal Tinkering Labs. These tinkering labs are dedicated innovation workspaces in every school, so that the young students from between grade 6 to grade 12, students like you, have access to the latest of technologies like 3D printing, robotics, augmented virtual reality through do-it-yourself kits. And using these do-it-yourself kits, you start creating solutions for problems you see in and around your community. And that is how you get introduced into the world of problem solving, into the world of innovation. And it's a very exciting world. Once you enter into the world of innovation, you will not want to look back. You don't want to become just a job seeker like everybody else. You have been empowered with knowledge. You have been empowered with access to technology, which is affordable and accessible right in your own lab. You can start becoming the creator of solutions rather than the user of solutions. And that is how these Atal Tinkering Labs will revolutionize the way education is being applied by young students. No longer do you have to focus on rote learning and say, oh, I have to get good marks, get into a good university, get good marks again, go to a university abroad, get good marks again, and go into the next job from IBM, from Google, or from HP, or whichever other organization that is offering a job. No, you can create your own company. And that is what, my dear students, you should all aspire for, because this is the age, this is the time, this is the opportunity that every one of you can leverage to become a job creator, to become an innovator. Your title should be entrepreneur and innovator, not I'm working in so-and-so job. On your card, you have to be the architect of a new India. And that is what the Atal Innovation Mission is bent upon doing. Converting and transforming this rote learning mindset that we have in our schools to a problem-solving innovative mindset. So that when they go into the university, here we are setting up world-class incubators. Now, what's an incubator? An incubator is a place which will foster startups. You need a startup's world, there are plenty of what they call as valleys of death. Because a startup life cycle is pretty complex. They start, somebody comes, has an idea, that he wants that idea to convert into a product, and that product has to transform itself into a successful company. Now, in that journey, there are many places where a good idea does not become a good product or a good company, because they lack crucial support at crucial times. They sometimes don't have financial support for supporting the development of the product. They sometimes don't have manufacturing support. They don't have mentoring support at the right time. They don't have the access to the right mentors, the right people with the knowledge of a market or of a domain or of a technology. They sometimes don't have hiring support. They need people in order to be able to grow their organization. They sometimes don't have marketing and communication support. So all of these are enabled through the incubator. And the government gives up to 10 crores of grant to every incubator so that they can foster startups. Now, what has been amazing, my dear students, is that from our Atal Tinkering Labs, we have got at least 10 to 12 startups that have come out by young students like you. Now, isn't that amazing? To have startups come from schools where students have yet to graduate into college, but they are already brimming with a new idea and they have created their own startup, and that startup has already been listed. Some of them have already been listed on Amazon and they're offering them as products. Now that is the power of the youthful energy that we are talking about. And every one of you is a born innovator. Remember this, nobody can tell you you're not an innovator. Because when you were born, nobody taught you how to walk. You looked at the world around you, you stood up, you fell down, you stood up again, you fell down again. But every time you stood up and tried to walk, you innovated with your own intelligence, native intelligence, and you succeeded in walking, and you succeeded in running. And some of you are now winning national races. And Usain Bolt has won the world championship in running. So similarly, nobody taught you how to speak. You just saw the people around you. Their lips were moving, some sounds were coming out, and then lo and behold, you started imitating them. You started moving your lips, you started framing words, and nobody taught you because there was no language to teach you. but you innovated every time. You got it right. And when you get it right, as Abdul Kalam said, the word fail means the first attempt in learning. In a startup's world, in an innovator's world, there is nothing called failure. There is only success or there is learning, the first attempt in learning. And then this learning is a lifelong journey. How exciting it is to be in a lifelong journey of innovation, of entrepreneurship, of learning, and of success. That is a world, my dear young students, that every one of you is capable of entering and capable of fostering. And towards that end, Atal Innovation Mission is fully aligned with your initiatives of FRC and Elevate to make sure that that thing can happen. So with this preamble, I would like to throw it open to question and answers from all of you. But I am very, very happy to be part of this event today and to be able to share a few thoughts of the innovator's journey from the school to the university, to the industry and beyond. Thank you so much.
Yes, so we all truly agree with what you said, and it was really inspirational to us. And we'll now start the questions from
Sure.
all.
How is ATL impacting lives across India? Can you share some success stories with us?
Yeah. So as you are aware, we have selected more than 10,000 schools across the country. Now our country is split into 715 districts, spanning 32 states and 7 union territories. And all of these, we wanted to make sure that the Atal Tinkering Labs are implemented in every district across the country, whether it is a rural district, a hilly district, a coastal district, and not just in the metropolitan cities. 5,100 Atal Tinkering Labs are fully operational today, as of today, and the remaining 5,000 will become operational at different points in time during the course of this year. More than 2 million students are already exposed, because in every school we have 400 to 500 students who get access to the Atal Tinkering Labs. Now what we do is, how do you create this innovative spirit? So we launch number of challenges called Atal Tinkering Challenges, and we also run what are known as Atal Tinkering Fest at a regional level and Atal Tinkering Marathon at a national level. In each of these challenges or the Tinkering Fest or the marathons, we identify areas where we ask the children, go and find a problem in this particular area and create a solution. And you can join together in groups of 4 or 5, identify the problem. So for example, the last Atal Tinkering Marathon, we launched problems along the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. What do you do for smart healthcare, smart transportation, smart electricity, affordable housing, clean drinking water and sanitation? So we tell everybody, what are the problems that you can see when you go to a hospital, and what problem would you take and solve? And then the students came back, identified a problem, and then they actually created an innovation using our ATL technologies. So they would use robotics or 3D printing or IoT or miniaturized electronics, Arduino boards, and so on and so forth. And out of the Atal Tinkering Marathon that we ran last year, more than 8,000 innovations were created by over 50,000 students across schools in the country. And what was amazing also is that among the top 1,500 innovations that were submitted, so we run what is known as a Tinkering Marathon Day in a school, where all the innovations done by their students are displayed. And the school selects the top 10 innovations from their school and sends it to Atal Innovation Mission for our consideration. And then all the judges are local to that particular school. So they would select some judges from the local community, experts who can judge the innovation. They would also invite all the parents so that the parents come to know that my child has done this innovation. Very often parents don't even know that the children are so smart and so talented, and they have created this great innovation. So this becomes an opportunity for them to know about the capability of their own daughter or their own son. And then 8,000 of these innovations, out of these 8,000 innovations, 1,500 innovations got submitted to Atal Innovation Mission. We selected the top 100 out of that. Now, what was the great thing in that is 33% of the winners were girl students. And this is amazing because we don't still have 50% enrollment in schools of girl students. Secondly, all the innovations that came out were absolutely top class. We had innovations, for example, solar panel, IoT-based irrigation management, robotic-based waste management, surveillance management using drone modules and drones in fields or internal to a campus. We had for the visually challenged people helmets getting created which had integrated sensor technologies so that the visually challenged person, when he or she is crossing the road or walking somewhere, there would be automatic alerts about obstacles on the road or whether the signal is green or not and so on. There was one very interesting innovation that I saw where one of the young students from grade 8 or grade 9 in a school from Kerala, they created a fishing net, a smart fishing net, which would open based on AI technology. So what, in fishing is very common in Kerala. And when you catch a fish, you don't want to catch the young fish, the children fish of a particular kind. You want to let them go and you want to catch the larger fish. It is also ecologically a sound thing to do. You don't want the children fish to die. You want them to continue living for their span of life. And so this young kid had created a solution where there was a surveillance camera attached to the net. And whenever a shoal of fish entered the net, it used to capture the images. That used to be fed into a into a PC. The PC would do an image matching of that fish, that type of fish, because different types of fish can enter, and typically fish enter in shoals, a number of fish enter a net together. And you could then determine whether this was a child fish or the parent fish of that particular kind, of that category, because of artificial intelligence, because of imaging and pattern recognition. And then automatically that net would open so that if it is children fish, they will let go of the fish. But if it is a parent fish, then it is to be captured. Now that was a great integration of IoT technology, surveillance camera technology, artificial intelligence-based technology, and common sense of maintaining a sustainable development goal, of ensuring that our planets and our seas don't suffer because of that. Now that's the sort of imagination our young children have, and it has been amazing to see the top 100 innovations. Now, what did we do with these top 100 innovations? We said we will subject them to student innovation programs along with our partners like IBM and HP and Microsoft and so on. And many of our incubators, Atal incubators. So all the students who had their 100 innovations got an opportunity for a period of 3 or 4 weeks to actually perfect their innovation under expert guidance. And then a bunch of them were selected as student entrepreneurs, and one of our partners sponsored them to create a product that would actually be sold in the market. So this is the journey that has gone through, and this is the way we see a tremendous amount of success of Atal Innovation Mission in the Atal Tinkering Labs.
That was truly inspiring. So our next question is, how can someone support the ATL mission?
Yeah, so it's a very good question, Arna, and I think this is something that everybody needs to know. Atal Tinkering Labs would not be a success were it not for a number of people getting involved in the entire innovation journey. So we realized that all these technologies are new. Many of our teachers in schools don't have access to these technologies, and so they would not be knowledgeable about these technologies. So we launched what is known as Mentors of Change. We opened up a portal and asked mentors to volunteer themselves to help our Atal Tinkering Lab students and also the teachers. And we said that you have to be a professional in the industry, you have to have knowledge about problem solving, or you are familiar with IoT technology, or you're familiar with makerspace and so on and so forth. And lo and behold, we had more than 10,000 people who registered for voluntary mentoring as Mentors of Change to Atal Innovation Mission. So we have allocated 5,000 of them to various Atal Tinkering Labs across the country. And what do these Mentors of Change do? They interact with the students, they interact with the teachers, they bring in that valuable knowledge, which is a gap in the teacher's armor or in the student's armor. and they enable the young students to get inducted into problem solving. Sometimes the mentors themselves may not have an answer to the solution because everybody doesn't have answer to all the problems, but they have now a powerful network. So we have regional mentors of change, and these regional mentors of change will coordinate with all the other mentors in that particular state, and they will find a solution which will then be passed on to the young student. So this is how we are ensuring that people like you who are maybe, supposing you are proficient in robotics or you are proficient in IoT, you can volunteer to become a mentor of change and help the students in their innovation journey. Additionally, we got a lot of corporates, large companies in India, multinational as well as Indian companies, who volunteer to adopt Atal Tinkering Labs. So we have more than 30 or 40 such companies who have adopted 100, 200 Atal Tinkering Labs. And adoption means that they would co-invest in the Atal Tinkering Lab in terms of time, effort, sometimes even in equipment that may be needed in the lab. They have their employees going and spending time with them as volunteers, and they would ensure that the benefits of an Atal Tinkering Lab reaches across to the local schools also, not only the school which has an Atal Tinkering Lab, but also the other schools in the neighboring area. So there are many ways in which both corporates as well as individuals are able to contribute to the Atal Tinkering Labs and enable their success.
Thank you for that answer. So our next question is, how important is STEM education going forward?
STEM education is extremely important. Like I said, science, technology, engineering, and management skills, and I would say even arts. You should now no longer is the word STEM as relevant as STEAM. You need a combination of both science, technology, engineering, arts, and management in order to make anything successful, any innovation. And like I said, science and technology is changing the very way we are able to imagine the world. I mean, you need scientific solutions, whether it is a COVID-19 crisis, whether it is the digitalization of the world. I mean, digital transformation. Look at the fact that even during a lockdown today, all of us are communicating and having a session together. I mean, this would have been impossible 10 years ago. But today, not only is it free, it is not even, I mean, we are not paying too much for this, for an internet connection and the bandwidth, and you have tools, you have technologies, you have recognition software, you have video conferencing software. We have just launched the Bharat App Innovation Challenge for Make in India world-class apps. So this is the age of science and technology, and we need to leverage it. And science and technology is still continuing to grow in an exponential manner. You look at every aspect, whether it is software, hardware, whether it is artificial intelligence, blockchain, whether it is robotics and sensor technologies, the world is going to explode with new innovations and new ideas of how to use them. But at the same time, you also need to have arts, and you need to have management knowledge and commerce knowledge, because innovation does not become successful unless it gets used. And in order to get used, you have to be a very successful company. You should be able to distribute your product. You should be able to market it very effectively, and so on. And at the same time, any end product or any innovation that you do needs also to be a work of art. Why is the iPhone so successful? Because it is as much a work of art as it is an engineering marvel. Steve Jobs spent a lot of time visiting museums. He visited the Corning glass factory. You know, the Gorilla Glass that you see actually came out of a visit to Corning in one of the factories which makes glass in the United States. He studied calligraphy in school rather than engineering in order to get the beautiful fonts on the MacBook, on the Mac computer. So art has to get blended into science, technology, and management in order for an innovation to be successful. So you need great designers, you need great artists who can bring that power of usability and beauty into an innovation. And therefore, I think STEAM education is very important. At the same time, humanities is very important, because technology cannot be used or misused for other bad purposes. You need to ensure that they are used for good purposes. So you need to be able to inculcate in the students some knowledge about ethics, values, integrity, proper use of technology for good. You want AI for good, not for bad. You want IoT for good, not for bad. You need cyber security for good, not for prying into somebody else's life. So these are all as important facets. So humanities, social sciences, and then comes social innovation. You cannot just produce products which are going to make money. You have to see how societal problems can be addressed. So 22% of our country is below the poverty line. We want to make sure that these poverty is eliminated. There are 115 districts in our country out of the 715 districts which are called aspirational districts. And why are they called aspirational? Because they are the bottom of the rung in terms of healthcare, in terms of education. There is 1 in 3 infant mortality in these districts. There is 1 in 5 maternal mortality. Now you want to eliminate all of that. People don't have access to basic clean drinking water. So social innovation is as important. Water management is very important. We have in our country the greatest demand for water, but we are a water stressed nation in our own country. So how do you manage water? How do you reuse water? How do you create water harvesting through technology, through integrating IoT in the soil and so on? There are many, many techniques in which you can do that. So all of these have to come together, a great blend of technology, science, engineering, humanities, arts, as well as commerce have to come together in order to create great innovations of the future.
Thank you so much for that answer. We see a significant change in us consequent to participating in this competition. We would like to spread this across schools in India. How do you suggest we do the same?
I think it's a brilliant idea and a brilliant suggestion. We at Atal Innovation Mission would be very keen to see how we can partner together and take this initiative of the first robotics competition that you all participated in regularly, and how do we enhance it? I mean, we have the demographic dividend. We should be one of the largest set of students across the world who are coming up with innovative ideas. And therefore, I think one way of partnering is with Atal Innovation Mission, because we have all these Atal Tinkering Labs. And through the Atal Tinkering Labs, we can also reach across to many other schools in the community. And there are many other ways of partnering along with some of our existing partners, like corporates who are willing to invest their CSR funds into such a cause. And there are a number of NGOs who are willing to help out in this. So we should form a group of stakeholders, not only from the government, but also from the industry, from the social workers, and from academia to come together to do this. And we'll be very happy at Atal Innovation Mission to facilitate the entire process.
Thank you, sir. What are the future opportunities in this field? How do you think children can take this ahead?
So, the world of tomorrow is a world replete with opportunities, and it is begging to be taken by every one of you. And I think if I were born today as a student, I mean, nothing would be better. This is the best time, because you take any vertical, you take agriculture, you need solutions for precision agriculture. And conventionally we used to think, oh, I don't want to become a farmer, right? I want to be in the city and I want to do some high-tech stuff and so on. But this is the opportunity. You can do high-tech in every area and every vertical, and you can bring tremendous changes in, let us say, farm productivity, farmers' income. A country like Israel is actually now exporting food from Israel. And where is Israel? It's in a desert. How do they do it? They do it because of what they call as precision agriculture. And in precision agriculture, it is a combination of IoT technology, weather sensing, very precise irrigation management. You don't water a crop beyond what it requires. You'll see in many gardens today, the water hose just running and pools of water getting formed, and actually it harms the plant more than it actually enables it to grow upon precision agriculture in India. You know, India is the largest producer of milk in the world. It is the largest producer of nuts, fruits, and spices, vegetables in the world. And we still don't have what we call as value-adding products which are being exported. A small country like New Zealand is exporting, is one of the largest exporter of dairy products. They have 3 million people and 33 million sheep. And it's a small country. We have 1.4 billion people. And we have so many farmers, 44% are farmers. How do we ensure, for example, precision agriculture can help them in becoming one of the most competitive countries in the world in agriculture? Similarly, take biotech. Similarly, take healthcare. Similarly, you take education. You know, why should we go to schools only for education? Why can't we use digital technologies so that those students who are not able to go to schools, let's say in our hilly districts, our coastal districts, very difficult. If those of you who have gone to Sikkim or to the Northeast or to Ladakh, you know, traveling to the school is not an easy process. Transportation is still not available. How do we use digital technology for education? And you have augmented reality, virtual reality, and so on, which can be integrated. Take robotics, great new area. Manufacturing, healthcare, hospitals, you have bots which can be going around in hospitals and serving medicines in the COVID-19 crisis. You don't want human beings to get infected. You can have bots or robots which can be delivering medicines, the routine stuff that any nurse has to do, so that the nurse can now become more intelligent, involved in more intelligent actions, more in monitoring and more in administering and getting skilled in new technologies or new solutions. Similarly, you take space travel. You know, space technology is becoming, the Indian government has recently opened the space for the private sector. And you already have companies like Elon Musk company in the United States who are launching space shuttles, private companies. And that's a great area for people to get involved in, because space has so many endless possibilities of being leveraged for the benefit of the earth. And then you take defense, you take horticulture, you take sports. In every one of this, there is a huge opportunity. So the opportunity is there for the entrepreneur, for the thinker, for the innovator. And everybody, therefore, I urge to become innovators. You will see 1,000 problems that you can solve, and that is customized for India maybe, which is different for the rest of the world. Any solution, by the way, that you develop for India is also a solution for the rest of the world.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is, what do you think will be a game changer in the world of STEM, or rather STEAM? And like, what do you think is the next big thing?
Well, there are many next big things because many things are happening parallelly. But I would say, you know, still data sciences is one of those areas where everybody should become more proficient in, because artificial intelligence is going to play a big role in the years ahead in developing solutions. IoT is going to play a very big role. Internet of Things, robotics is going to play a very big role in creating the next big thing. Software engineering, software development is going to become more and more sophisticated. You know, when I was studying software, I started programming in assembly. Now, programming in assembly or assembler language is very, very difficult. You deal with bits and bytes, you deal with registers, and so on and so forth. None of you probably even know what an assembler language is. And that's how we learned our programming. But today, you have libraries, you have object-oriented programming, you have plug and play. Today, we are teaching artificial intelligence. Atal Innovation Mission has launched AI Learn It Yourself module for school students. That's grade 6 and grade 11. And we have just launched a mobile app development module for all the students just 2 weeks ago. And students are going to be developing their own apps, learning it all online. So we are in a world of plug and play where it is very easy for you to learn a particular technology and create the next big thing. But the next big thing is all about your idea and your imagination of solving a problem. And I do think every innovation in the world has now to get aligned with sustainable development goals. There are 17 sustainable development goals. And if you look at many solutions with that, like for example, take a car. A car is a source of as much of benefit as a source of pollution for the world. The emissions from a car have to be reduced. So that is a great opportunity for reducing that emissions using technology. Similarly, factories, they belch out a lot of smoke, they create a lot of emissions. What do we do to prevent that? And how can we convert that into something which is positive? So you are going to have many opportunities for the next big thing. But I think the growth of technology in computing, communications, and the convergence with big data analytics and data sciences is going to play a very big role in the next big thing that you see.
So we also have a question from the audience. The question is, are any of the innovations that you talked about from the students that were there, made by the students, now being manufactured in large numbers or used in any industries?
I know 6 of the products have got launched on the e-commerce world, and I don't know right now how big they are. A number of young students from Atal Tinkering Labs got involved in creating masks, for example, for this COVID-19 crisis. Some of them have created PPE equipment using 3D printing and so on. And I know that some of them have started manufacturing it. I don't have the full details, but I think, more than how many got manufactured or how many masks got created or how many innovations are out there in the market. At the school level, what I look for and what everybody should be looking for is your journey into this world of innovation and starting to create something. It is a little impractical for me or anyone else to expect that within a year or two, you're going to create a big manufacturing unit coming out of our Atal Tinkering Labs. But what it is going to happen is you're going to have thousands of young, brilliant students who will go into universities, who will start startups. We are already a startup nation of the world. We have 30,000 startups. And these 30,000 startups will be, from 30,000, it will go to 100,000, according to me, within the next few years. And that will be the power of innovation that India will express to the rest of the world. And their products are going to be manufactured in millions because India will also have a Make in India initiative and a strategy to be able to support all of that. So I'm sure you're going to see tremendous results from all of this.
Okay, so our next question is also from the audience. How do you suggest the world deals with the rise of unemployment as a result of replacement of humans by machines?
You see, this fear has been there from the day human beings entered into industrialization. So this is not a new fear that people are having. The very time, when there were people who refused to drive a car and they were wanting to only go by horseback or in a cattle cart because they felt that this is going to destroy the rest of the world. And look at now, almost everyone has multiple cars and so on and so forth. And the world has only improved economically. You see, machines are not going to, automation is not going to destroy jobs. In fact, it is going to create opportunities for new jobs. With the advent of computerization, look at the many new jobs that have come up. Previously, you did not have things like call centers, you did not have back office processing, you did not have ITS operations. A hospital, you go to a hospital, only then you get to know what is happening to the patient in the hospital. Today, you are able to have a video conference with somebody, you're going to have a back-end support using call centers and so on and so forth. So a whole lot of new jobs get created. See, human beings are very intelligent creatures. And you don't want to waste the human intelligence on mundane things which can be done by automation and by a machine. You want to train your mind to do bigger and better things. So what is important is not the fact that don't pursue technology because you think technology will create losing jobs. Rather, acquire the new skills on which you are able to build new solutions, new innovations. And according to me, for example, because of artificial intelligence, actually it is going to create more jobs. Why do I say that? Take, for example, construction. A simple thing like building a house. In construction, there was no magic. You put a lot of bricks together, put some cement together, have some design of a house, and then you build the house. But today, because of artificial intelligence, because of IoT, because of smart technology, you are able to reimagine a house, not just a house, you are able to reimagine everything about the house. You can have walls which show a different picture every day because their walls are no longer the conventional walls. They can be the projection which is based from a computer screen or whatever, except you can have automatic lights coming on and off. You can conserve electricity. So there are a zillion things that you can do because of technology and innovation. Now, therefore, the civil industry, why I said all that is, the civil industry was losing its charm. Civil engineering industry was losing its charm a few years ago, and everybody was flocking to become computer programmers. But today, you will find mechanical engineering, civil engineering, aeronautical engineering, every branch, a resurgence in all these engineering disciplines, because you can integrate artificial intelligence, IoT, and technology, and really create new things that you never imagined before. So artificial intelligence, IoT, robotics, they will all introduce many new jobs and new opportunities for every one of you. The key is the learning mindset. You should have a learning mindset, and you should refresh your knowledge every 2 years with new things that are happening in the world. When you don't do that, you become obsolete and you become a little jaded, and then you start complaining that technology is taking over the world. But I think the fault lies more in us, that we don't continue the spirit of learning and the spirit of innovation.
So true, sir. There's another audience question. We're getting some very good ones from them. Is how do you suggest we make robotics more popular amongst the youth of a country which does not use it on a large scale industry yet?
Yeah, it's a good idea, a good question. I think robotics needs to be, the knowledge about robotics needs to be introduced at least around the 10th or 11th standard, or maybe the 9th standard and so on. I think that knowledge is increasing because AI has already been introduced now as a curriculum in the CBSE, and Atal Tinkering Labs have also introduced AI Learn It Yourself kits. We have already introduced robots in the schools in the Tinkering Labs, or robotic technologies, do it yourself kits. I think the knowledge of robotics needs to become a part of curriculum at some point in time in the later classes, not in the early classes. Once you have understood, because a robot is an integration of multiple technologies, the integration of software, hardware, IoT, electronics, augmented virtual reality, all of these come together in a robot. So it's better to get familiar with all the other concepts first before you get into the robotic creation. But I'm sure it will, more and more maker spaces are required in our country, because a maker space enables young children to tinker with technology and to learn. And I think the focus on just learning through textbooks and just the theory part of it is not good enough. We'll have to transform that. AIM is trying to do it. Atal Innovation Mission is trying to do it. I'm sure over the next few years, you're going to see an increased focus on that.
Yes, sir. That's actually leads us to our next question, which is what do you think is the role of startups and robotics competitions like ours in today's India?
It is very relevant. I encourage every one of you to participate in such robotic competitions. We have a number of competitions in the international market, but I would urge that we have more competitions in India. In fact, we'd be very glad to work along with First Robotics and Elevate to launch the next robotic challenge for all the tinkering labs across the schools, so that will create an interest in robotics, and we can have a challenge just focus on using robotic technologies and creating solutions for the communities and problems that we are seeing. Because that would be a very educative thing, and also it will be very stimulating. I also think that we should have more competitions in India. So we'll have to work with manufacturing companies and with corporates to be able to invest their time and effort in identifying potential challenges and partnering with the schools and academia in being able to launch these challenges. Because the moment you launch a challenge, a lot of people get interested in it and they want to solve it and they learn about it. And that's the only way that you are able to bolster the spirit of innovation and the spirit of learning also.
Yes, sir. We too hope to have many to partner with Niti Aayog and host some of these competitions in India. So the next question is, given the current pandemic, how can we look upon these circumstances as an opportunity to build a STEM India rather than as a pitfall in our tracks?
Thank you. That's a very relevant question. You know, the COVID-19 crisis has revealed to us many gaps that are there in the world that need to be addressed. And when you look at these gaps or these challenges, every one of those challenges becomes an opportunity for us to address. Take, for example, the COVID-19. Right now, we have requirement for three things. What are preventive solutions for COVID-19? What are assistive solutions in the COVID-19 crisis? And what are curative solutions? You know, vaccines or any solution that can be a cure to somebody afflicted with COVID-19. Now look at preventive solutions. You know, this is sort of a virus which spreads on contact. So how do you ensure that you minimize contact? How do you ensure like masks and filters and personal protective equipment? How do we develop test kits which can be affordable? You know, which every house can buy a test kit so that they can do self-testing, self-diagnosis of whether you have a COVID-19 or not. How do we ensure sanitizing equipment? For example, all the sanitizers that we use, you know, first of all, if you go into a mass, like an airport or a station or a bus depot, or you're traveling in a bus, how do you have sprays that can sanitize it? How do you create using nanotechnology surfaces which don't get contaminated? It is possible. It will be a self-cleaning, self-healing surface. There is already a lot of research going on in that. How do you create packaging? For example, all the foods are being delivered in packets to you at your home through Amazon or through other digital supply chains. Can we create packaging material which are resistant to infection and to contact? How do you leverage technology in being able to, you know, when you are flying long distances or when filters that you're using, you know, you have to wear it for a long time. How do you make it easy? You know, those of you who have been wearing masks, you will find that after 15-20 minutes, you want to take it off. You know, you're sweating and you are feeling uncomfortable and you want to take it off, but you're not supposed to touch it. So there are a lot of challenges. Now, these are COVID-19 related problems. Now, post-COVID-19, we have a whole lot of other challenges, which are all opportunities. Take, for example, digital transformation. By digital transformation, we can, in fact, it was very beautifully brought out by the Prime Minister in his Atmanirbhar Bharat address. He said there are 5 pillars on which a self-reliant India will stand. First is the pillar of demographic dividend, which we have talked about. But how does this demographic dividend get the benefit? How does it become a pillar? By extending digital education to the masses and by ensuring that, you know, it becomes affordable through your mobile phone. Or how do you make a mobile phone affordable? Not many people have a smartphone. Not many people still have an internet. So if you don't have an internet connection, or if you don't have, if you don't reduce the cost of the smartphone, then it is a problem. So you have challenges in that. Second is you need to have good collaboration environments. You know, you want to mimic an actual classroom. So how do you do a mimicking of a classroom? So there is a great opportunity for education technology startups in this area. Then we talk about the pillar of infrastructure. The pillar of infrastructure is we want smart infrastructure, not only physical infrastructure, but digital infrastructure across the country. So that we have 600,000 villages in our country and we have 4,000 plus towns. How do we make every town a smart town? If you make them a smart town or a smart city, they become a hub of innovation and job creation. And that's what we want. We don't want all the people flocking to 8 metro cities and flooding the place and making it non-sustainable. That is not a sustainable growth at all for India. So we want all our cities, 4,000 plus cities, to become hubs of job creation. That can happen only through startups who flower and blossom in each of these cities, addressing local community problems and making that community self-sustained because of the industry. Supposing, for example, you're living in a place like Goa. Now in Goa, you want to bolster the tourism industry, you want to bolster the cashew nut industry, you want to bolster the fishing industry because a lot of fishermen are there. You want to boost the shipbuilding industry. So you have local community innovations that are required, and startups which are able to address that have a great opportunity. So this is what we call as a pillar of infrastructure. Third is the pillar of demand. We have 1.3 billion people, and we have a tremendous consumer appetite. And we have 250 million people in India who are middle class and who are growing. So their needs are becoming more and more. Now, how do you fulfill that need? You can fulfill it with startups. Take, for example, now so many organizations have come up like Fresh Menu, which is serving fresh food to all of the people at their home. You no longer have to go to a restaurant. You get all the foods, you get a list. There are some people like Zomato and Swiggy, they collect from various restaurants and they deliver it to your house. So you have an opportunity for fulfilling that demand, the pillar of demand. Then you have the pillar of technology, which can be exploited. And we have talked enough about technology, so I don't want to stress on that. And then finally, you have a pillar of socio-economic growth. Socio-economic growth is a great opportunity for startups, particularly for the MSME industry, what we call as the micro, small, medium enterprises. They have to flourish and grow in India, not just the big corporates. Because 70% of the people in India are employed by the MSME industry. And this is both the formal and the informal economy. So how do we, and this is a great opportunity for startups to foster that. So many, many opportunities.
So thank you for your answer. And now for the next question. How can we get more girls involved in STEM programs and robotics competitions?
Yeah, very, very good question. And this is something that we need to address urgently, not just at a national, not just at a school level, but also at a societal level and at a national level. You see, we have, according to the last census that was run by the Government of India in 2011, more than 48% of our population is girls and women. Yet, we have only 13% entrepreneurs of India as women entrepreneurs. So you have 77% of our entrepreneurs, or 87% of our entrepreneurs are men, and only 13% are women. And when you have a population of 50%, close to 50% women, we should have 50% entrepreneurs as women, right? So that's a big opportunity. The girl child has to, now what prevents the girl child from becoming an entrepreneur or getting the benefits or getting involved in STEM education, in robotics and so on? There are many reasons, but there are four primary reasons that I can point out. One is education. You know, lack of awareness of how important it is to educate the girl child and allow them to flower to their potential. Many of the girl children don't get the opportunity to complete school for various reasons, societal reasons or whatever. Sometimes it is hygiene reasons. The schools are simply not hygienic enough for girls to go to, safety factors and all of that. But we want to make sure that every girl child gets the benefit of world-class education. And again, digital technologies can help a lot in being able to empower girls with that education. Second is empathy. You know, we are not putting ourselves in the shoes of the girl child or the woman entrepreneur and seeing what exactly are the problems that affect them. And when you have empathy, you will understand there are a lot of societal restrictions, for instance, that come in the way of a woman, of an empowered woman. And we want to break all those barriers, and we want to enable that every woman to be able to have equal opportunity, if not greater, than what the men have. And so that can only come with empathy. The third is empowerment. Empowerment means enabling the woman entrepreneur or the girl child with special attention at this point in time, so that they have access to all the tools, technologies, and incentivizations needed for them to become entrepreneurs. So we have, for example, in Atal Innovation Mission, we have taken care that 70% of our Atal Tinkering Labs are in girls and in co-ed schools. because we want to make sure that all the girls' schools will have access to Atal Tinkering Labs. And the results have been stupendous. More than 33% of our top winners are girl children, and we expect that in the next year or so, we'll have 50% of the winners as girl children. Also, in our incubators that we have launched, we are specially encouraging women-led startups and women-led incubators. So we have, out of 1,500 startups that are operational in the last 2 years, more than 500 startups are women-led startups. And that is a wonderful thing for us. We want the number to go up to 50%. So 750 out of 1,500 should become startups, women-led startups. And I'm sure we'll reach that. And finally, it's also a question of financial empowerment. It's not just societal or tools and technology access and incentivizing, but you need to ensure that women entrepreneurs, girl children are getting the right type of microfinancing support and rural financing support, especially in the tier 2, tier 3 and underserved regions of our country, to be able to access opportunities or to learn on STEM, to grow and to be able to contribute.
Thank you, sir. So our next question is, this pandemic has shown us the power of digitization. So do you think this will help propagate tinkering and innovation?
Absolutely. I think this will help greatly. In fact, during this crisis, Atal Innovation Mission launched what we call as Tinker from Home modules. And this has been a resounding success. Ronak and team have done a marvelous job in being able to launch this Tinker from Home modules. We launched 5 modules. First one was Learn It Yourself, Artificial Intelligence and Do It Yourself. It's a step-by-step module to learn on AI, and you can self-certify yourself on that. The second one was Game Development module. So here we launched this along with Dell Technologies and with Learning Links Foundation. AI module we launched with NASSCOM and with many companies from NASSCOM partnering us in that. The game development module was to convert our young students from game players to game makers. And we have launched 2 modules. One is the beginners module and the second is the intermediate module, which enables the young student to start creating games of their own. And this has been very exciting for all the young students. The third module that we launched was 3D design, using a tool called CollabCAD, which we developed with NIC. And the fourth one which we launched was on digital creativity with Adobe. And now we have launched the app development module for the students. This is mobile app development modules. And they have been launched along with Plesmo, who's a partner to us. And that has been, we have launched 2 modules, one for the students and another for the teachers, because the teachers also should know what it is to develop an app. So all of these have actually been possible because of the digital revolution. Otherwise, this would not have been possible for us. And therefore, to answer your question, digital technologies are going to play a tremendous role in furthering tinkering, in furthering the adoption of innovation, prototyping, playing with tools and so on. Of course, you also need to physically create products and innovation. So you will need to go to the tinkering lab, or you need to have access to tinkering lab technologies close to your vicinity. And I'm sure with the COVID-19 crisis passing, that will again resurrect itself. But yeah, digital revolution is a very important part in enabling greater tinkering and greater innovation.
Yes, so this was truly inspirational and motivational. We'll now conclude the questions, and I would like to ask you, are there any concluding remarks that you would like to give us?
Well, I just want to remind you all of, every one of you is a born innovator, like I said. And I would like to just talk about a little of Sri Abdul J. Kalam, who came from the humble town of Rameshwaram. It's a small little town in the coastal India, South India. I don't know how many of you know where exactly it is on the map. If not, just you should go and Google it. But it's a small little town. And in that town in coastal India, you have probably one school or a couple of schools. There are maybe 1 or 2 universities. You have hundreds of temples there. It's called the temple town. It's a place of pilgrimage for many people. there may be a church, there may be a mosque. There are thousands of fishing boats because it is primarily a fishing dominant area, fishing industry dominant area. And in this town was born this person, but who had a dream. And that dream was to become a pilot. And he started tinkering with the boats. Whenever a boat was not working, he used to get involved in some aspect of the engineering and so on and so forth. But he set his dream on flying a plane. Of course, he didn't become a pilot, but that dream led him to become one of the finest missile scientists, one of the finest scientists India has ever seen and the world has seen. And he was a humble person. And he said this, he said, dream big and you'll achieve great things. Dream small and you'll be limited by your own dreams. So my advice to all of you, or my suggestion, humble suggestion to every one of you, is dream big. You will achieve great things. Aspiration is very important. But you back up that dream with great belief in yourself. Don't think that you are not capable of achieving that dream. Swami Vivekananda said that if you believe in 1,000 gods and goddesses but do not have belief in yourself, you are doomed. Now remember that. You need to have extraordinary belief in yourself. But along with that belief, you should have an action plan to acquire knowledge and to use that knowledge for good. You cannot just dream of something and not have an action plan of achieving that dream. Aspirations have to be backed up with an action plan from your side. And that calls for discipline. You need to be a little disciplined. You need to be able to spend that amount of time, that concentrated amount of time to learn something new, to practice something new, and to innovate. Innovation, remember, is 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration. This was said by Madame Curie, I think. And you need to ensure that you will acquire that discipline. You see, great geniuses are all about making that effort. Sachin Tendulkar did not become the great cricketer that he is by just because of a stroke of genius. Every day he used to go to the nets till the day he retired and practice for 6 to 8 hours, just swinging with his bat and trying out various postures and various strokes, so that even as he became older, he became more intelligent about what and how he should bat in order to score a century or create a winning team. So discipline is very important. But combine that with energy and enthusiasm. Discipline should not become a chore for you. It should not become something that you say, oh, I have to do it. No. You have to come back every day energetically, enthusiastically. Then you are on your road to becoming an entrepreneur. And finally, do not give up. You know, like I said, as Abdul Kalam said, the word fail is first attempt in learning. And a success of an innovator or an entrepreneur is his ability not to give up. Thomas Alva Edison said that I did not fail 1,000 times. I only realized how 1,000 ways of not creating the light bulb. And so he learned with every step. And we should all be learners till the very end. If you acquire all these qualities, you're already on your way to become a great entrepreneur, an innovator, a potential Abdul Kalam, a Ramanujan in the making, a Tessie Thomas, who is now known as the missile scientist of India, a Kalpana Chawla, a Steve Jobs, or a Bill Gates. All the very best to every one of you. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to participate in this very, very interesting session.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for such an inspirational and insightful interaction. This session was the perfect conclusion to our Build First in India series. And when we met you in February at Niti Aayog, we were extremely impressed with the work that you all do and at the Atal Tinkering Labs. And it was a very enriching experience for all of us. So we at Team Elevate are committed to take forward the spirit of STEM and robotics, and we would love to continue to partner with Niti Aayog and Build First India. Once again, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ramanan. This was really an outstanding and amazing talk. And I mean, there's so many takeaways for our students today from this talk. And it really, I mean, the work that is happening at ATL also is so inspiring. And so, you know, we didn't even know a few things that were happening. So thank you so much for enlightening us on that. And we really look forward to, you know, joining with ATL and Niti Aayog and starting a revolution of STEM and a revolution of FIRST in our country. So we look forward to having a collaborative journey with you going forward, sir.
Looking forward to the same. Thank you so much. Okay.